Welcome back to the ticket setup series. In today's session, we're going to focus in on input variables that you can leverage dynamically inside of the request title when an end user or agent submits a form within Tikit. So Ticket admins have the ability to create forms for the business, and those forms can ask questions to gather information so that when a ticket is submitted, the agents have the information you need to move that process forward. A pretty good example of the impact of leveraging input variables is looking at a new hire form. So if I open up my new hire form here, what you'll see here is I have a form asking me for very relevant information for this new hire. So I'm going to fill this out here. Now, when I submit this, what you're going to see is that the ticket will be created. The agents will receive it. And that will work as expected. However, where the challenge, at least out of the box and how you're experiencing it here, is that if I'm an agent, I'm looking at a list of tickets. So on the right-hand side here is I have a view here for new hires. And I just refresh this. So there's ticket 81, that's great, it was created. However, what if I'm looking at a list of new hires? What I'm gonna see here is I need to onboard an employee, I need to onboard an employee, I need to onboard an employee. That was the phrase that was used to surface that knowledge article. That was the first phrase that was used to surface that knowledge article off of the help card. And when you have 10, 20, 30, that is not going to be very useful when looking at a list of new hires because you don't have contextual information until you actually click on the ticket and open that up and then go to the form. So what we learned from that is we decided to give the ability to variabilize these elements here and let you put them into the request title. So when you're looking at a list of new hires, in this example, you can craft it however you want, but it might say like new hire, they might have the first name, the last name of the department. So you're seeing this list of new hires and you have really good context as you're skimming through this list to work on the different new hires in the business. Now, what we're going to do now is we're going to flip over to the admin side to show you how to use these inputs to variabilize those the request title and those inputs, and then we'll go back and show you the end result. So I'm logged in as Diego here. I'm in web.tikit.ai, and I'm going to go over to the admin area to do this. I have a template for onboarding. So I'm going to go over there. I'm going to move over to the form here. And here's the form that you saw Adele fill out in Tikit Virtual Agent. Now, in order to take these form elements and put them into the request title, there's a couple of things we need to do here. So the first is I need to grab the request title. I can put that anywhere I want. The reason why I can put that anywhere I want is because I'm actually not going to have the end user fill out the request title. There is an option that we have here called initially visible. Now, if you keep that selected, it's exactly what it means. The end user is going to see this request title. But if I uncheck it, it will only be accessible after the ticket is created, and only agents can view it as the property of the ticket. So we're effectively putting almost like a hidden field on the form that the end user will never see. Now, you're also seeing in here is a message variable in the request title. So this is where we're going to start talking about variables. There's a whole setup series video on message variables. It's a very intentional variable. So I recommend go watching that if you're interested in what that means. But in this request area, you can put any variable you want to grab properties of the different form elements. So we're going to start building that out. So I'm going to delete that message variable because it isn't relevant to this process. And I'll start to fill out what I want here. So for me, I think it makes sense to put new hire in the title. And then I want the first name, last name, and department. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to the first name input, and I'm going to grab the ID. I'm going to copy that, come back to the request title. And I'm going to do an open curly bracket, paste, close curly bracket, close curly bracket. Then I'm going to do space. I'm going to grab the last name here, grab the ID, go back to the request title. I'm going to do open curly bracket, curly brackets, paste, close, close. And then I'm going to grab the department, same thing. And I'll go back to the request title and do that. So whenever a new hire is submitted now, oops, I forgot the curly brackets, that will grab those inputs and automatically put them into the request title. One other thing I want to highlight here that isn't on this form but is relevant is that if you're using a ticket property and you want to put it into the request title, so maybe you want to choose category as an example. We don't show you the ID up here, so you don't really know what to grab to put into the request title. But what I want to show you is that if you open up this area called Card Payload Editor, and you go to the body area, you're going to look for that category. So that's going to be towards the bottom here. And there it is, category. And what I need to grab here is I need to grab the ID for that category. And I would just copy that and paste that with the curly brackets around it there. So any ticket property, you're going to go into the payload editor to grab the ID. But for all the other ones, you can just go to the actual element itself. Let me remove category. Oops, not type of computer, category. It's not relevant to what we're doing here. Let me just double check my request title. I think that looks good. That's what testing's for. So we'll go ahead and test that out now and save that. Once saved, that has now changed the experience, at least in the plumbing. The end user won't see the difference there. So we'll go back to Adele's perspective and Ticket Virtual Agent, and I'm just going to bounce off of the help menu because it's easy for me, and I'll initiate that process again. So we'll fill this out one more time. And so the first name and last name and department are the things that are going to be grabbed. I'm just going to choose whatever options here is, doesn't really matter. And I'll submit this out. Now this ticket will be created. So Adele will get confirmation of that, ticket number 82. And if I refresh this, what you're going to see here is that the new hire title is much more informed. So if I had 20 different new hires, obviously it would be different first names and last names, and maybe similar departments may be different, but I'm going to have a very nice clean list of what's relevant to that particular business process that I want to surface inside of that request title. This applies to anything though. Software requests, put the software request name inside of the request title. Termination process, same thing, first name, last name, things like that. All right, this is where this part of the setup session will end. Really hope you enjoyed it. And if you do have any questions, please email team@cyerson.com.